Hi foodies, as some of you might already know, I am in cold Canada right now. So this is one of my favorite comfort foods to enjoy during the winter season. As a matter of fact, fall and winter. Some delicious beef and bean chili. Let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to do, guys, is we have some oil in the pot here and we're going to brown the beef. All right. So you can use turkey or whatever meat you prefer. I'm using beef today. So I'll be browning it. I'm just going to pour it into that hot pot and then I'm going to break it up. You want to make sure you loosen it so that it can hit the surface of the pot, because you do want some of that browning action going on. You don't want the meat to be gray when you're done. Now, in the past, I've always seasoned my ground beef before. However, sometimes when you add the salt too soon, it just draws too much moisture out. So after getting that browning action started, I just sprinkled on some seasoned salt. You could even use some beef seasoning if you want to. And I'm adding some black pepper. Later on, we'll be adding a lot of spices, so don't worry, we're going to season this well. After it sits on the surface of the pot for a while, then I start to break it up even more, and you just want to stir it around. You want the beef to get some sort of color. Now, one thing to remember is you don't want super oily chili. Okay, so if you have a lot of oil in the pot after browning this for about 5 minutes, you're going to drain off that excess fat. This is why you don't want to add too much of the spices at this point, because then all the spices would be gone in that oil that you drain off. Okay, so we're going to set this aside, but I want to show you the spices. I'm going to be using a lot of spices because, you know, chili needs to be flavorful, not just spicy, but flavorful. So there's chili powder, paprika, there's oregano, there's onion powder, garlic powder. I'll list everything in the description box below. So the beef is out. I added just a little oil to the pot. And then what I'm going to be doing is just mixing all these spices because we're going to add them soon. Okay, so set the spices aside. And then we're going to cook up some onion, some bell pepper, some celery, garlic. That's going to give lots of flavor to the chili. You don't want to use only powdered seasonings. You want to add some freshness in there too. Okay, so go ahead and sweat this for maybe a minute or so. You just want to soften it. You don't want to brown the vegetables. One good way of getting that good flavor in your chili is by toasting or frying the spices. Now, usually it's better to do it when they're whole. I don't have them whole. I have my ground spices. So I'm just going to add half of those spices that I mixed earlier to the oil here. And we're just going to stir it around. And once you heat them up like this, it just gets all of that beautiful flavor out. It gets a little more intense. I'm only using half at this point. We'll add the rest of the spices later. If you don't want to take this step, that's fine. Just make sure you add those spices somehow, okay? After about a minute, we're going to be adding the beef back to the pot. Okay, so add all the beef that you cooked, and then we will add the rest of the spices. I'll also add some minced fresh garlic. Don't be afraid to add that garlic in there. That's a lot of flavor. If you feel like the pot is a little dry, you can always drizzle just a little bit of oil, but not too much. You don't want the chili to be greasy. Now there's some spices and bits of meat that might be stuck to the pan. We're going to add the liquids now. So Worcestershire sauce. And we're going to go in with crushed tomatoes. There's going to be tomato sauce and tomato paste. These liquids will help to lift all the seasoning from the bottom of the pot. We're also going to add some broth as well. And the broth I'll be adding is chicken and beef broth. You can use vegetable broth, beef broth, or chicken. I'm adding a mixture. So in goes the broth, guys. If you don't have any broth, you can always use a beef seasoning cube. Just dissolve it in some hot water and you can add it here. And in goes the tomato paste. So make sure you taste the chili, give it a stir, and what we need to do now is just bring it up to a low boil. Then we will simmer it with the cover off. So don't keep the lid on, okay? This is one of the ingredients that you can add for more depth in the flavor of the chili. You can add some liquid smoke. If you're cooking it outside, of course it's going to have that natural smoky flavor, but you can add a little liquid smoke if you want to. Once you've tasted this and you're pleased with how well it's seasoned, cover it up, allow it to come up to a low boil, and then we'll add the beans. You can use canned beans. I just cooked some raw, dry beans that I had because I ran out of the canned kidney beans. So I just boiled some and I drained it, and I'm just going to add it at this point. Once the beans are in, we're going to do a low simmer, and you want to keep the lid off because you need to check on it and stir occasionally so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot. One thing to remember about chili is after you season, go ahead and check again while it simmers to see if you can add anything else. Always keep tasting it, all right? Because you might need to add just a little more spice just to make it even nicer. Now, some people want their chili to be on the runnier side. Some people like it nice and rich. So if you feel like it has reduced too much, you can always add a little more broth or even a little water. When the chili is cooked, let it rest for at least 15 minutes before you serve it. You want to allow the flavors to mesh together nicely, okay? And then it's nice to serve it up in a bowl. Look at that. It is so gorgeous and it tastes amazing. Really flavorful. So you can serve it up family style like this. And I love to have it with cornbread, guys. Sometimes I have it with corn chips, but cornbread is my favorite thing to have with chili. Serve it up family style with some shredded cheese, sour cream, and green onions, or you can serve up a small bowl for yourself. It is comforting, it is flavorful, it is filling, super satisfying. Remember to check out my cornbread recipe. I'll leave the link in the description box below. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know how you enjoy this beef and bean chili. I'll see you next time.